From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate. Prime Minister Mark Carney's minority Liberal government cleared its first hurdle to passing the federal budget.
MPs defeated a Conservative sub-amendment 198 to 139 that called the budget unaffordable for Canadians, something the Prime Minister rebuked in question period Thursday.
This budget is about building this great country. And what this budget shows is that with the $1 trillion of investment that we are going to catalyze, we are going to put more than $3,000 in the pocket of every Canadian by the end of this decade.
A Bloc Québécois amendment rejecting the budget as harmful to Quebec will be voted on today, with defeat potentially triggering an election. David Augustine, The Canadian Press.
The labor market is expected to have taken a little bit of a breather in October.
Economists expect employers shed 2,500 jobs last month and that the unemployment rate remained unchanged at 7.1%. The job losses would follow a surprise hiring surge in September when more than 60,000 positions were added. The October jobs figures come after the Bank of Canada, undeterred by September's labor market strength, cut its benchmark interest rate for a second time in a row. Its key lending rate currently sits at 2.25%. Michelle Zedekian, The Canadian Press.
The cull of birds at the Universal Ostrich Farm in Edgewood, BC has begun. Last night, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency launched its operation, which will ultimately see hundreds of the big birds killed months after the farm was hit with a deadly avian flu outbreak. Bright floodlights and a structure of hay bales were all set up, obscuring the grim task, and after dark had fallen, the gunshots began to ring out. Farm spokeswoman Katie Pasitny has vowed that her advocacy is not going to end.
I will make it my life's mission to make sure that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency is not allowed to continue to operate in the way that they have been able to.
On Thursday, the Supreme Court of Canada declined to hear a final appeal from the owners of the farm, ending a temporary stay on the cull. Overseas now, multiple explosions shook a mosque at a high school during Friday prayers in the Indonesian capital of Jakarta. At least 54 people, mostly students, have been reported injured. Most of the victims suffered minor to severe injuries from glass shards. Witnesses told local television stations that they heard at least 2 loud blasts around midday, just as the sermon had started. The cause of the blasts was not immediately known. And finally, Sam Smith bestowed Canadian singer and songwriter Beverly Glenn Copeland with the Legacy Award last night at the PTP Pink Awards. The British superstar flew into Toronto specifically to honor the musician, who may be best known to Canadians for his frequent appearances on CBC's Mr. Dress-Up. Smith described him as a true statesman of the queer community. He was one of 6 notable LGBTQ+ figures honored at the second edition of the Pink Awards. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, starting in the NHL, the Montreal Canadiens coming up short in overtime, losing 4-3 to the New Jersey Devils. A similar fate for the Ottawa Senators, who fell 3-2 in overtime to the Boston Bruins. Elsewhere around the league, Carolina, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Anaheim, Philadelphia, Florida, and Tampa Bay, all finding the win column. Taylor Heiss scored and set up each of Abby Murphy's 3 goals as the U.S. women's national hockey team opened up the pre-Olympic rivalry series with a 4-1 win over Team Canada. And American Nick Dunlop turned a tough lie into a chip-in eagle on his final hole, tying a course record with an 11 under 61 at the Worldwide Technology Championship in Los Cabos, Mexico. A short 30 minutes later, Sami Välimäki of Finland joined him at the top of the leadership board. Adam Hadwin of Abbotsford, BC, and Adam Svensson of Surrey, BC, both carded 4 under par and are in a 10-way tie for 34th, 7 shots back of the leaders. From the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.